We were lounging on the worn leather couch in my living room, half watching some reality TV show that none of us cared about, just enjoying the buzz of friendship that seemed to fill the air whenever my three best friends were over. My live-in girlfriend, Natalie, had been in and out of the room, pacing as if lost in thought. It was one of those lazy evenings when time seemed to stand still, giving us space to laugh about anything and everything. She walked in suddenly, standing at the entrance to the room like she was about to announce a grand revelation. Her eyes glinted with an odd combination of nervousness and determination. "Hey, guys," she began, her voice overly casual but shaky beneath the surface. "So, who's up for something a little different tonight?" We all turned toward her, confused. I remember thinking it was probably some quirky idea or joke. But then, her next words sent a jolt through the room like a lightning strike on a clear day. "What do you guys think about gangbanging me?" Her tone was disturbingly nonchalant, as if she'd just asked if we wanted pizza or wings. The laughter stopped. For a moment, the room went so quiet you could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator. My friends exchanged uncomfortable glances, their eyes darting to me for some kind of cue. Time slowed, and an icy realization crept through my veins. Her words weren't a joke. And worse, the casual way she had delivered them revealed something I hadn't wanted to admit to myself. This wasn't some wild whim. Something deeper, darker, had been simmering beneath the surface of our relationship. I locked eyes with her. Her expression dared me to say something, dared me to assert control over a situation that felt like quicksand. The tension in the room was suffocating. "Go ahead," I finally said, my voice cold and detached. I felt like I was watching myself from outside my body, a spectator to the crumbling remains of what had once been my life. And they did. My friends hesitated for all of 30 seconds before the unspoken pact of male camaraderie kicked in. I left the room, unable to watch. As laughter and murmured voices turned into something more primal, I sat on the steps outside the house, staring blankly at the flickering streetlight across the street. The universe seemed to pause, leaving me to wrestle with the thoughts churning in my mind. This was the moment I realized that my relationship with Natalie had been a fragile house of cards all along. It hadn't collapsed in that instant, it had been toppling for months without me noticing. When it was over, she called out to me. I walked back inside, but the sight of her sitting there, disheveled and unapologetic, sent a wave of nausea through me. "I'm good," I told her when she asked if I wanted my turn. The next morning, I packed her bags and told her to leave. It was oddly anticlimactic. No tears, no screaming, just the empty sound of her footsteps as she left my house and my life. Or so I thought. Months passed, and I focused on rebuilding. Natalie had left a crater in my life, but I threw myself into work and spent time reconnecting with friends and hobbies I had neglected. I was determined to forget her. But as anyone who's lived through betrayal can attest, the ghosts of the past have a way of haunting you when you least expect it. One afternoon, I got a text from her. "Lunch? I need to talk to you. It's important." For reasons I still can't fully explain, I agreed. Maybe it was morbid curiosity or some lingering thread of affection that hadn't fully unraveled. When I arrived at the little diner where we used to share pancakes on Sunday mornings, she was already seated in a booth, her hands wrapped tightly around a mug of coffee. She looked different, a little more fragile, as though life had taken something out of her since we last spoke. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, offering a tentative smile. "This won't take long, but it's complicated." Complicated? The word felt laughable after everything she'd done. But I gestured for her to continue. "I want to have a baby," she began. My heart stopped. The words hit me like a freight train, but she wasn't done. "And I want you to be the father." I must have stared at her for a full minute before the absurdity of the situation registered. This woman, who had humiliated me in the most unimaginable way, was now asking me to help her bring a child into the world. "Let me get this straight," I said, leaning back in the booth. "You want me to father your child? After everything you've done?" "You're good looking," she said, as if ticking off items on a checklist. "You have a great sense of humor, and you're intelligent. Those are traits I want in my baby's father. But don't worry, I wouldn't expect you to be involved. I'd move back to the family farm, raise the baby there with my mom. You wouldn't have to do a thing." It was surreal. I'd always thought the strangest part of my story with Natalie would be the moment she invited my friends to sleep with her, but somehow this took the cake. And then there was the secret that had been gnawing at me for years, a secret I'd never shared with anyone. I can't have kids. I'm sterile. It's something I discovered in my early 20s after some routine tests. I'd come to terms with it long ago, but her proposition stirred emotions I hadn't felt in years: loss, inadequacy, and, strangely, a glimmer of relief. "No," I said firmly, standing up. "Not a chance." She blinked, startled by the abruptness of my response. "Why not?" "Because you're out of your mind," I shot back. "You blew up my life, and now you want me to help you play house? You can forget it." I left the diner before the waiter even brought a menu. As I walked back to my car, the absurdity of the situation hit me again, and I laughed, a bitter, hollow laugh that echoed in the empty parking lot. That was the last time I ever saw her. Looking back, I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I'd called her bluff. Told her yes, knowing full well I couldn't give her what she wanted. Maybe it would have been some twisted form of closure, watching her plans unravel when she found out the truth. But I'm glad I didn't stoop to her level. Sometimes, life hands you a story so bizarre that it feels like it belongs in a soap opera. But for me, it's just a painful chapter in a book I've since closed. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: the people who are meant to be in your life don't force you to question your worth or sacrifice your dignity. They lift you up, not tear you down. So here's to moving on, to rebuilding, and to never letting someone like Natalie back into my life again. If she ever tries to reach out again, well, she'll have to find someone else to share her bizarre ideas with. I'm done with that chapter for good.